about spreading the right kind of news, the proper kind of news. Basically, one of the big problems we have in this part of the world is that a lot of us do not know where we are coming from. And there's no way you can know where you are going to if you don't know where you are coming from. I'll give an example. Recently, there was this thing spreading around that, Nigeria, the amalgamation will expire this year. Wrong.
Wrong?
Yes, wrong. But then that is a false bit of information that has gone pretty much viral. And this narrative is repeated in so many other places. Now, information is very important because at the end of the day, the educated populace cannot bring anything to offer. We all beat our chest about having a very large population, the largest number of youths in Africa. If all of them are uneducated and ill-informed, then what we actually have in our hands is trouble. If all of them do not know their rights within the law, and that is something that happens a lot, then we are only storing ourselves trouble for the future. If we have a situation where only 81,000 people write the National Common Entrance, as happened last year, then you know that 6 years' time, we'll only reap the whirlwind from that. And those are the things that we need to start plugging, and we need to have started plugging them 15 years ago, not now. It's never too late, but we have to start now. Very, very important. Information is power. If you're not informed, forget it.
So, I was in a bus 5 years ago. A yellow bus, and the driver went on about his friends on Facebook, and he caught my attention. On Facebook, how did you do it? That was the first thing I asked him, which tells me something about how much people now value the internet, social media, and the likes. How responsible is the media to these platforms?
The media has a lot of responsibility. You see, the media cannot allow social media to just control the narrative willy-nilly. Very simple. 2 years ago, there was a rumor that went around, started on social media, that Boko Haram had bombed the NYSC camp in Bauchi. A lot of people ran with that. They got it on social media and just began spreading that story. If somebody had not tried to verify the next day, imagine the kind of damage that could have been done in terms of revenge attacks, people having all sorts of suspicions. So those things are very important. The media needs to control the narrative. It's not just about having access to information, but about who controls the narrative. Because ultimately, the person who controls the narrative is the person who controls the course of history.
And you can understand why he's speaking so passionately, because he is the editor of today's Telegraph. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Let's talk human capital development. I was watching television a while ago, and one major factor that is working for Nigeria and Nigerians today is our enormous human capital. Mr. Otto, you are the director of Slum to School and Education Development Initiative. One of the things you do is to help harness, and help, all the unreached, galvanize and bring them up in the way they should be educationally. Tell us more about this thing that you do.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here, and I think we all understand the importance of education. We all understand how a nation can be extremely, influential because it has a very good educational system and it has a populace who are educated. And it's sad, we don't really want to talk about the problems, but unfortunately we live in a society, we live in a nation where over 10 million Nigerian children between the ages of 3 to 15 are currently out of school. Now this poses a very big threat to the future of this nation. And if we really want to see a nation that's going to be developed, that's going to be, as influential as lots of countries across the world, we need to ensure that these children have a bright future. These children are given an opportunity through education to basically, have the potential to be great, to be the leaders of tomorrow. We're seated down here today because we were educated at some point, because we went to schools, because we were able to sit down in the classroom and get basic education. Unfortunately, this poses a very big threat to the future of this nation if nothing is being done. And for me as an individual, I'm very concerned about solutions. I'm very concerned about inspiring other young people to believe in the change rather than just sit back, complain, criticize, and condemn the government, which we are part of. We need to start thinking about profiling solutions. We need to change our mindset and have a mind shift from a generation that is complain about these problems to a generation that is focused on profiling solutions. I usually say, why curse a problem when you can create a solution? And we, as young people, we have the resources. We just talked about social media. I think social media is a very important tool that connects every young person from every walk of life. You know, and Gone to School as an organization which I happen to be working, we've been able to harness the resources from the social media platform to generate lots of resources, to engage with lots of young people. Over 1,500 young people from 10 countries have volunteered and been part of this movement, and we've been able to provide educational scholarships for about 600 children because we were able to come together, use our voices, be part of the change.
Let me quickly ask you, if the education sector were an industry, sort of like the oil industry, by now they would not have any shares in the Nigeria Stock Exchange. What I'm trying to say is that all the investment that needs to go into education, most of us take our kids out there, to educate them. Is there anything, that...
So sorry to cut you. Adeso, so sorry to cut you. We do have information now that we need to go to the Abuja chapter, where the conversation is ongoing right now. Right. So we're going to pause for a couple of seconds as we watch Abuja chapter.
Recently talking to somebody who is, a British man, and they've had independence. Well, let's say they've given everybody independence, so to speak, so thousands of years. And he was saying, I was complaining about the same things, Nigeria, things don't work, education system is not good, blah, blah. And he says that, your democracy is 53 years. He's been, he says to me, he's 60 years old, so he can remember when Nigeria was given democracy. We're still relatively young for us to keep criticizing and blaming and losing hope in what is happening in Nigeria. So I'd like to talk about self-education. By all intents and purposes, this group of ours is 18 to 40-year-olds. So by that, basic education, we're considered to be adults and mature. Our government usually would give us education till basic education and university. Well, university, not so much. I think it's paid for, right? I think, yes? Yes, it is paid for. So basically what our government does is leads us to this point. And at 18 to about 40, we're people in our own rights. Yes, we're supposed to actually seek education, make a difference in our lives. How much are we actually doing as Nigerians? Are we ready to participate? Are we ready to make that difference? To be able to educate ourselves? Sorry. I'm a bit lost here. Let me collect myself. Okay, what I'm trying to say here is that, the changes that we need to happen with Nigerian education comes from us. It's not going to come from the government. It's not going to, it needs participation. So I'm tying in this sustainable education with all of us starting something today. Are we going to continue this fight? Because the government is made of people. And if we don't decide to participate, like Zainab has done, like other people are getting involved, and make the policies that are relevant to our people so that education is something that continues our people, whether we're Yoruba, whether we're Hausa, whether we're so on and so forth. We tailor-make what it means to be educated for ourselves. We also insist on the infrastructure. And also, we use these things to be able to educate ourselves further.
Okay, Mariam, if I may ask you, I'll make reference to your statement about people always complaining.
Yes.
I mean, some have said that this is an elitist point of view. That, it's very elitist to say, oh, Nigerians like to complain. Do Nigerians not have valid reason to complain? Is there not an educational system that is in shambles? Is it the place of ordinary Nigerians to build the foundation upon which private individuals can improve upon?
I'm not saying that we do not have a reason to complain, but it shouldn't be all we do. It shouldn't be all we do. I think it's a statement to say, yes, the education system is bad. But within that system, even not elitist people, we've seen fantastic fantastic people that have come out of the system. They didn't go to England to go to school, or they didn't go anywhere else. Right here in Nigeria, they've made a difference to their lives. There are people like that. So surely should we not hold ourselves to the same standards? If somebody